Well, yeah. I had muted my speakers before, but every time I go back on or something, I must change my speakers. So.
That's me. Oh, never mind. It was just the live stream switching up.
I think we're okay.
I think Mr. Schultz just pulled up too.
Yeah.
It's nice. And I stepped in the sticky stuff. Oh, we all have. It's like up right on your shoes. What? Did you step right on your shoes? Almost. Like, oh well.
All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Engel, could you do roll call, please?
Terry Engel here. Joanne Maloney here. Rich Mueller.
Here.
Travis Ralph.
Here.
Dan Schmidt.
Here.
Lauren Shanerock.
Here, remote.
And Rick Schultz.
Here. We have an agenda in front of us this evening. Dr. Carlson, are there any additions or corrections?
No.
Would entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Ralph to approve the agenda. Ms. Single, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney.
Aye.
Rich Mueller.
Aye.
Travis Ralph.
Aye.
Dan Schmidt.
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock.
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Do we have any public comments that you're aware of, Dr. Carlson?
No.
We'll move right into the superintendent's report then, please, Dr. Carlson.
You have a written report from me. You also have one from Mr. Anderson. Nothing to add. I guess just want to highlight the recognition program for our employees, and thanks for those of you who were able to make it on that day, and as well as graduation. Both just wonderful events, and with Ms. Bentley here, just like to acknowledge her and thank her for her work again regarding graduation. And it was nice to see people gather again in the gym, and it was cool, nice and cool, temperature-wise too. So on a very warm day. So, but otherwise, happy to take questions. I know the report's rather short this time, but otherwise, that's it.
Any questions? That will move into board member comments. Are there any board members that would like to make mention of something this evening?
Rick, I have a comment.
Sure.
I was able to observe the PAC department just before school ended, and I was very impressed with the new facility that we have, and the equipment that's in that room is fantastic. I never opportunity to take home ec, when it was called when I was in school, and so that's as close as I got to attend that fact class, and I was very impressed with it. I want to thank the members of the school board for thinking of that when we built that, and thank the community for supporting that program and the bond referendum.
Excellent. Thank you, Lauren. I would just like to add that we all are aware that this is Dr. Carlson's last evening as our official leader in the board meeting here tonight. So we appreciate again the support you've given us over the past 6 years and wish you well as you move on from NRHEG. But thank you for that, and we'll share a few stories perhaps after the board meeting. So thank you to that. Anything else? Next regular scheduled board meeting will be July 19th, and right now it's mentioned to be at the Secondary School Media Center. That will be continuing here then as we progress through the electronic portion there. So that takes us up to consent agenda items, and Dr. Carlson, I would like you to introduce those, please.
Thank you. You have the minutes from the May 17th school board meeting. You have board bills amounting to $584,903.91. Donations, these were presented at the last board meeting, but I think it's worth going through from the New Richland Area Foundation. So through grants that were awarded to different folks who had applied in the school district. Our special ed EBD room supplies for $2,025. Senior class of 2021 for celebrations, $500. Our STEAM program for this coming school year, $2,000. Social mental health curriculum, $950. Fraction tile sets, $450. Literacy lesson set, $1,650. And our community ed program focusing on curriculum and play center equipment, $3,025. So again, we've been running a year-to-date total, and I believe that brings us at the end of the year to about $67,378.94. So thank you to the New Richland Area Foundation. We have some bids that we have in the consent agenda for the board to act on tonight. They're in the consent agenda because these are annual routine bids. Bakery bid, you have the summary of receiving one bid. And so that is from the Panagold Baking Company. You also have the dairy bid for this coming school year. We did receive two bids. We're recommending the Prairie Farms bid, and I just keep remembering to scroll down there. And so, again, we note a slight increase with that bid as well. You have lunch and milk prices, including breakfast. We are recommending that there is no increase in the breakfast and lunch rates, including no increase in the milk rate for this coming school year for students. You have the annual membership fee for the Minnesota Rural Education Association. We note that there's been no change in the fees, which includes $1,100 for the base fee and then a legislative fee of $946. Under workforce resignations, we'd like to acknowledge and thank the following for their service to the district. Claire Jensen, a preschool teacher, for her year of service. Jessica Williams, who has served most recently as our elementary reading interventionist, along with the teaching and learning support specialist, and we thank Jessica for her 6 years. Amber Holdeman, secondary paraprofessional. Thank Amber and wish her well for her 3 years of service to the district. And Luke Strina, a grade 6 teacher, and we thank Luke for his year of service in the past year. and wish him well in the future. Employment, happy to present the following people for employment in the school district. Mary Carson, STEAM teacher at the elementary school for the coming school year. Ashley Hefker, chemistry and physics science teacher for the coming school year. Linda Bergstrom, our licensed practical nurse. Amy Jensen, kindergarten teacher, and Amy has been working with us in our community ed preschool program most recently. Krista Reeder, our K-12 music teacher. Elizabeth Nelson in our community education preschool program as far as teacher, and Grace Nelson, also preschool teacher in our community ed program. And Stacy Webster, school age care summer lead. So again, we're excited to have those people join in our school district. We included Ms. Katie Knudsen, a longtime elementary teacher for us. We included her on the consent just so that the board can formally recognize her change in assignment, and she's going to move into the math interventionist position at the elementary school for this coming school year. In your consent agenda, you have the annual, let me back up here, Minnesota Valley Education District agreement that we have, as needed, look at that teacher of the physically impaired or other health disabilities on an as-needed basis. And so I noted the compensation. It's the base rate is $43.60, which is the same rate as this current, or the year that we just finished. So we've included that. Again, that's been an annual partnership or agreement. Similar, our South Central Human Relations Center for our Family Service Coordinator. And so you have that. The total amount would not exceed $53,510 as far as that agreement. We have the annual, with our CODA or Certified Occupational Therapist Assistant agreement, which we have paired for a number of years with the Janesville, Waldorf-Pemberton Public Schools. And in the most recent past, it's been a 60%, 40% share. Our school district has had the 60% share. We've re-examined the caseload of students, and it will be a 50-50 share. I believe the JWP board is acting on this tonight as well. And then what would happen based on your approval of tonight, at the next board meeting, we would bring forward the actual employee contract for that individual. Under student achievement, we're just amending the graduation list that was presented to you last month to adding 4 students to that list. So I think it brings, 68 students. Annually, you're asked to designate the identified official with authority for the Minnesota Department of Education, and you have identified the superintendent and the business manager as those 2 individuals who are given the legal authority then to authorize persons to access MDE secured websites for our school district. We have a 3-year agreement that has ended with IEA, and we're recommending that you renew our partnership with IEA for the next 3 years. IEA provides the environmental health and safety management services for the school district to assist us in complying with OSHA standards, regulations, and also MDH, or Minnesota Department of Health, and other agencies. Cost has increased somewhat. Our cost this year has been $12,887. Next year, $13,160. And finally, under consent, we just note that there are 4 students who have moved into the district and are choosing to remain with their current school district at this their former school district at this time. Okay, quite a consent agenda list. Again, if you have any questions on any item, you want any discussion, or if you want to act on any item separately, please just request that Mr. Schultz to pull it out of the consent agenda. Otherwise, looking for a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Routh to approve the consent agenda. Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving into the recommended actions, disability, property, liability, auto workers' compensation insurance proposal. Dr. Carlson, please.
We have received a quote from the Jensen Agency in Owatonna, who we have worked with for a number of years, in the amount of $151,547.44 for the annual premium. This is an increase of about 2.75%, and over this past year. I don't know if we want to, we didn't prepare for this, but Ms. Christopherson, you're able to just share maybe a couple notable things that goes into perhaps even the increase?
Yeah. So even with this increase, this is still coming in several $1,000s below what we were projecting. So that's good news. We are trending the right way now in workers' comp, a little quicker than I thought could happen, so that was really very positive news to get in. We understand why that is, I just didn't know it would react this quick. We got a couple things from a few years ago still haunting us. That's going to improve too, so we're hoping to get more bids next year on the property, because we'll be a few years out of some claims in the past, and so we're optimistic if we can have a somewhat normal year. So all in all, it's pretty fair, and below what the budget that is going to be presented later has in it. So that'll be one of the first things we'll revise after July 1. So
Thank you.
good.
Questions? Otherwise, we have prepared a potential motion to approve the district property liability auto workers' compensation insurance proposal for July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022.
I make the motion to approve the insurance proposal as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rao, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the insurance policies as presented. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Southeast Service Cooperative membership.
We realize that this, I can say, only carries with it a $640 membership, but we did put it on the recommended action list because we were not members a year ago. In fact, a year ago, we intentionally put this on the budget reduction list for $640, and because we were just simply not utilizing it as much. What has prompted this right now, the timing of this, is there is a desire with our advisor for our knowledgeable to join the Southeast Co-op to compete and participate and move out of the South Central Co-op. And so that Ms. Teresa Boondorf is our advisor, and so she has requested that. As it turns out that when you cost it out, the changes made even adding this membership, it will actually result in a cost savings for the school district. So anyway, we're recommending that we rejoin as an associate member Southeast Service Cooperative for this coming school year.
Is there a motion for that, please?
I make a motion to approve the South Service Cooperative membership.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Ms. Maloney to approve the Southeast Service Cooperative membership as presented. Any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney.
Aye.
Rick Mueller.
Aye.
Travis Routh.
Aye.
Dan Schmidt.
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock.
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Licensed school nurse FTE adjustment. We are happy that Dr. Carlson has a plan to cover this. So Dr. Carlson, could you please present that?
Yes, we are recommending that the board does accept our nurse, Carrie Petzinger's request to move to part-time at a 0.6 FTE. I'm very comfortable with recommending this. We do have a plan. We have a staffing plan for our 2 health offices that does allow us to do that. You'll see also a little bit more, I share a little bit more of that as far as the staffing plan. But we do have our full-time licensed practical nurse, Linda Bergstrom, who you just approved as part of the consent agenda. We also have 2 health office assistants that will be helping cover the 2 offices. And so I have no reservation in recommending this to the board. I'm happy to answer any more specific questions you have regarding this request.
Is it anticipated this will be going for an ongoing basis?
I don't, this is going to be just approving for this coming school year at this time.
Okay.
Does this affect the time that she was going to be doing her paperwork? I know that she had somebody coming in.
Yes. Yep,
So
good
how does
question.
that work?
Right. So the answer to the question, no, this will still incorporate time dedicated to the paperwork. And that has been worked out through a schedule. And mainly with the help of our 2 office assistants, which Ms. Sandy Tollefson, for example, had joined us a number of years ago for part of that was that purpose, to allow our licensed school nurse to step away and focus on some of the required paperwork items and billing tasks that need to be done and help with the coverage. And so we find that we can continue that, and I will support continuing that opportunity for her to step away. And so that is built into this. Good question.
Yes, I'm pleased as the administration has worked through this to get this coverage what they feel is acceptable. If we all remember how last year went in that struggle to secure, especially people in this profession, to have that coverage. So I am happy to know that we hopefully have a successful plan put together here that will work for all employees in the district alongside each other. So
I'd like to make a motion to approve Ms. Petzinger's request to move from 1.0 FTE to 0.6, serving as the district's licensed school nurse as presented.
Second.
I'll second it.
motion made by Ms. Maloney, seconded by Mr. Routh to approve the licensed school nurse FTE adjustment as presented. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney.
Aye.
Rich Mueller.
Aye.
Travis Routh.
Aye.
Dan Schmidt.
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock.
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. We're all aware that the secondary school district office electronic sign has not worked for quite some time. We feel that we have a proposal here that we'd like to bring before the board, and when I say we, the building committee has spent some time on this. So, Dr. Carlson, if you could present that, please.
So I have in your packet, you have the proposal, a pretty simple proposal that, again, this was a follow-up from even the last board meeting, and from M&M Signs, and so that's the recommendation, is to move forward with M&M Signs at a price tag of just under $25,000. We have every reason to believe that it's going to be close to that amount, and can we guarantee it's not going to be off $1,000 or $2,000? We probably can't guarantee that tonight, but we're told they have every reason to believe that that will be the case. If this does not include like the electrical hookup and so on, that will need to be taken care of too. We have, if I can, it's just today, so if you hadn't seen this, thank you, Mr. Schultz, for forwarding this. So this came from M&M Signs, and just gives a little bit of a, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to it or not?
The only thing I would care to mention here is the upper portion with the NRHEG schools and the Panther logo, that will have a backlighting to it, so there will be lighting on that in the evenings, or in the 41-inch portion of that sign will be all electronic messaging. So the border, as we know it there now, that complete cabinet that exists there now will be removed and replaced with what they call the more modern look. There was some talk the committee went through of actually using the cabinet and remodeling, and after we got into that a little bit further, we had some concerns. The other company that we researched alongside with this one of the advantages here that I saw was there is no monthly subscription here for the communication portion. The school will be able to communicate to this board. There's no whatever that subscription amounts to. Some of the techie people probably can explain that better. But so it should be a long life replacement there, and hopefully I think we got 20 plus years out of the other one, so hopefully that gets us.
So this is an entirely new sign?
It will be entirely new. What they would be talking of is the two pillars that hold the upper cabinet are what they refer to as wrapped, and they're assuming there's a structure there strong enough because this will probably be lighter than that existing cabinet. So they're hoping to use the two pillars that are into the ground, and that's again what Dr. Carlson referred to as a little bit of variability in here as to what the total project will cost, but we're comfortable enough to bring this forward and say that
The sheets or the wrapping that's there now, at least one of them really needs to be replaced.
right.
You know, it's bent. If you go out and look at the two, the foundational pillars there, and so I don't believe that anybody has taken that off and actually seen yet what is behind it. So,
And is the sign comparable in size?
Relatively close. This 99-inch measurement across, I think currently, we might have that on file somewhere, but I think it's 112 inches roughly across. So physically, we might notice just a little bit of shrunkenness there. The thing that we're going to really be improving is the messaging portion of it, and these people really are proud of their detail. Images could be broadcast on it, and there's quite a variety of different things, and they come with assure us that they will train staff to operate it, and right.
And they say the software is super easy to use.
You're right.
Easier than most, probably.
Right.
This is the same company that did St. Clair's, right?
This is the same one as St. Clair's, which I was a little concerned, truth be told, on the quality of St. Clair's. But since that time, they've also mentioned Waseca's, a church in Waseca that I visited that I thought that's acceptable.
Okay.
And a lot of them in Mankato are, they're very proud of their work in Mankato. They gave a bunch of references there. Daktronics is the other competitor that we compared this to. And again, a superior product, perhaps maybe a little bit more name recognition with Daktronics. But again, their situation was a monthly fee after the first year. And then the communication portion that Travis talked about, these people kind of assure us that this will be easily communicated with from personnel within the schools. That the brand name is Watchfire, if anyone's Googling on this particular message board. So I'm excited to see it improved and get back to that. It was surprising. I've had some community members talk to me about what's going on there. So I think it's an information source for the community. So
And we're hopeful it'll be up and installed, running by the beginning of school year, right?
that is the objective. If we can move forward with it, they were pretty assured that we wouldn't get caught in the COVID backlog. So
We haven't visited a great deal, but maybe just want to mention the Panther Head.
yes, please do.
This is what one of the designs that was given to them that works for them already, that has as far as the type of file that they need.
Correct.
But I think this is one that, if you've noticed in our district, we haven't come together and decided on a common one, which maybe it's time to do that. But this is the one, I think we've seen some of this within our athletic department, for example. I believe Mr. Stork might have provided this one. And so it's, whatever's going to be put on this sign is going to be there for a while. And so, but I have to be upfront with you, we haven't had that process as a district. We haven't done that or haven't even talked about, do we want to do that, to decide, you know what, we're going to have one common logo and go with that. And then all our activities, athletic teams, letterhead, all that sticks with that same one. We haven't had that conversation. So, and that, just wanted to acknowledge that for the board tonight, and if that's important, or if this is something, so I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Right, and the only thing I would add to that is that in looking at the old, and everyone's invited to witness this themselves, but the Panther that's currently on the existing one, I have no idea where they came up with that, because that looks like a barn cat to me on the side of that sign. So I think this is a great improvement, but again, subject to our approval of if this, and I don't know that we're moving into this will be our logo type thing tonight, but as Dr. Carlson and I visited through this subject, it's probably something that we should charge our administration with on saying, all right, let's get this moved forward so that we don't, I don't know.
I think we have better things to spend our time on,
Well,
personally.
that could be too, and that's right. I'll leave it at this. Do we like this look, or I mean, is there something that we say this isn't at all?
He's pretty ferocious looking.
I like that look. I mean, if it works well for them to
Sure.
do this, I'm for that one.
And if down the road, if the board or the district feels that they want to try to get, solidify a common one, well, then maybe it's, some of the work's been done, if that.
And there's nothing saying that if down the road they want to come up with something else, I'm assuming that top panel could be replaced.
Exactly, they're two separate boxes, so. So.
That price, was that based on the assumption that those posts are good
Correct.
to go?
Correct, and that could be the variable, but
Sure.
they're pretty confident that if that has stood there for the amount of time that it's been, and nothing seems to be off kilter, they're somewhat reassuring, but they won't guarantee, I guess would be the way to put it.
So we do have the motion, potential motion for your consideration, Using an estimate to be about 25,000. There's other ways to do it, to not exceed a certain amount, but that's what we have for you at this time, but that certainly can be modified.
Well, the post shouldn't be that much extra that it would be, a huge expense to replace the post, would it?
Correct. In my estimation, no, it would be a small portion of the total project, but yeah, just to know that it could potentially be over the exact quote that's presented here tonight.
Do we know if they're steel posts or are they cement posts?
We don't know that, but they're assuming steel is what they've shared with me, and I would assume that, but I don't quite know.
Wasn't there a fairly significant difference between the two quotes?
Yeah, the two quotes are nearly a $15,000 upcharge to go with the other company.
So
I think this,
it would take a heck of a issue out
Absolutely.
there to even come close to.
And bear in mind that the other ones were not, they were going from the pillars up also. So
Yeah.
we felt we were comparing relatively close. It's next to impossible to get it right down to the, but I think it's safe to assume that at least $10,000 increase to go with the other company, and that's
So
where
there's
we
some good
stepped.
cushion
you
there.
remember back was about 36 and 39, and the more expensive one we think is the actual monitor portion, the message portion is hopefully a comparable product, but
So is this the true power one compared to the more expensive AIM proposal?
The resolution is comparable on the detail in the picture, the way I was informed. The AIM product, again, being supplied by Daktronics. I mean, this is only my opinion, but Daktronics probably does carry a more popular brand name perhaps than Watchfire, but if you start paying attention to these, and everyone's welcome to do that, Mankato area, you'll find 2 or 3 Daktronics and 10 Watchfires. So but then again, USC Wells, the other evening, theirs was a Daktronics. So there's a mix between the companies, but again, it comes with a cost also.
I guess some of the conversation, we wanted to, what's our main purpose here? And we want to be able to put messages up and communicate. And so we want a good quality product and one that it looks nice, but also we want to be able to put messages up and communicate. And so
We think this
whether or
could
not spending an additional, what could almost be another 15,000 in order to do that, we think probably don't have to do that.
Well, and knowing that they're getting more, like St. Clair's was kind of iffy, but I believe that's a few years old,
right.
where
And
they've probably made some improvements
And one of
with
the
technology
right.
anyway.
One of the things about electronic signs is you can't go and stand in front of them
Right.
and stand there and read them. I mean, they're kind of designed in proportion to the passerby on the road and sized properly, and I'm comfortable that they've done that homework to where there may be an individual that comes and stands in front of that on their way into school and say, wow. But on the drive-by is what you're trying to target the messaging. So hopefully it's a good product.
I'll make a motion to go with the sign from M&M Signs as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Rouse, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to move forward with the secondary school district office electronic sign replacement as presented. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel?
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney. Aye. Rich Mueller.
Aye.
Travis Ralph.
Aye.
Dan Schmidt.
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock.
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. The 21-22 staffing plan revision. Dr. Carlson, please.
Yeah, the board just approved the staffing plan a month ago, but this has happened every year, that at some point you will be presented with some revisions as they come along. And what this one just notes for you is some of the action that's already happened tonight in that, or related. So for example, the elementary reading interventionist. So you remember in the consent agenda, Ms. Jessica Williams, her resignation. So as we sat back and re-examined that position, we being Mr. Anderson, Mr. Bunn, also Mr. Jurens, our new elementary principal, and Mr. Myhock, the five of us re-examined that and felt that it was best to move forward with posting that the elementary reading interventionist position as a 1.0 FTE. There are other tasks or responsibilities that come with that have been with that learning support specialist, but so part of this is to eliminate that, which has been identified as a 0.2 FTE for the last 1 or 2 years, and we are working on a plan to perhaps identify and provide some staff an opportunity to help with that, those responsibilities with our world's best workforce and so on through stipend. We, quite honestly, our priority right now is to be able to post, recruit, make the elementary interventionist reading interventionist position attractive to get someone interested in that position. Also, I just note that the change in our licensed school nurse since the board took the action just a short time ago. I'd just like to keep this document or a record of the staffing plan current as decisions are made and as reflect our overall staffing. So that's what's included on this. I just note what kind of possible budget impact. This is a little bit of a tough one to measure because of also, even with the reading specialist, we're adding that to a degree, but it was at a total of 0.95 FTE, and so we're really technically adding a 0.05 FTE, which is pretty insignificant. But I also, at the same time, will say to you, we are investigating, looking at creating some monetary stipends for teachers who I believe we already have some interest in doing some of that work and helping the principals with that important work. So, I'm happy to take any questions you might have, but this would be potential motion is just simply to approve the revised staffing plan for 2021-2022 as presented.
I make a motion to accept the new staffing plan revisions as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Schmidt to approve the 2021-22 staffing plan revisions as presented. Any further discussion? Ms. Engel? Oops, go on. You bet.
I have a question. With the staffing plan, we're using the ESSER money to pay for some of these positions. Is this something that we've taken into account, that this ESSER money is not going to be here 4 years from now?
Yes.
And how do we account for that?
Yes, good question. You know, with the staffing plan, and we talked about this the other month and even April a little bit, about how the immediate staffing plan for even next year, we've acknowledged the fact that, some of the initiatives of maintaining the low class size and these interventionist positions, we do intend and plan to tap into the ESSER funding. So we acknowledge right up front that that's at the most going out 3 years to fund some of these positions. So there is no long-term plan beyond that. So everybody needs to know that that's part of what this goes back to even our discussion in April and especially last month as we presented the main staffing plan. We acknowledge that. Mr. Shayrock, I don't know if that answers your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion? Ms. Engel, please, for a roll call.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shainra,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. 2021 revised budget. Dr. Carlson and Carla, please.
Thank you. We're just going to, Ms. Christophers is going to assist by taking us through a PowerPoint. We'll start with the revised budget for this year that we're almost ending, but we've always, in May and or June, looked to the board to accept a revised budget. And we'll do that and act on that by the month within the same PowerPoint. Then we'll move into the proposed budget for next year. So, Carla.
Okay, so slide number 1. So here we show the fiscal year 21 budget pertaining to the 6 main operating funds that was adopted a year ago. You will note the projected general fund deficit at that time was just over $194,000. This was at a time when we were planning for a normal year. As you know, it was as far from normal as hopefully we'll ever experience. This slide shows what we talked about in early February. At that point, we had started making just some real high-level adjustments, but not knowing what to expect the second half of the school year, it was kind of difficult, so we didn't really dive into it. If you remember, in late January is when we started trickling back into the building, not really knowing what to expect. So that brings us to tonight. Right now, we're hoping for a very positive swing. This slide shows our latest projection of how we hope to end this fiscal year, amounting to an estimated increase of just over $330,000. Remember, this is unaudited, and some of the unknowns still include where we're going to end up with third-party billing revenue, tuition bills for residents served elsewhere, and as always, special ed funding is very hard to project. This number includes reserve accounts and the unreserved accounts. So it includes reserve accounts such as long-term facility maintenance and staff development dollars that weren't all used. So those will transfer over and stay in those reserve accounts. And then it's also before any necessary fund transfers take place. For example, last year we did a couple of fund transfers, one to food service and one to community ed. We did one to LTFM, or from LTFM to the construction project, and we still have some unknowns to finish that project. So when we come back in the fall with final audited numbers, we'll talk about changes that have occurred since now, between now and then. But just to highlight some revenue things, at this time we didn't know much about ESSER 2, ESSER 3, ARP, just on and on and on. So since then, we've brought in the second half of the ESSER $1, which is about $50,000. Back then we thought, well, maybe we'll try to spread those out 2 years just to help a little bit. But then we started hearing about ESSER 2, and they said we got to spend ESSER 1 before you can spend ESSER 2, and then we started hearing about ESSER 3. So we went ahead and spent the ESSER $1, and so those dollars were received. We finished spending the dollars on technology equipment. I mean, we had so many more expenses than this, but we just went ahead and coded it to these things. And then a summer program that Governor Walz put together came out. They asked us to kind of estimate what we were going to do before we knew what we were for sure going to do in this building. And they've just started sending that money. So you don't have to even normally you have to spend it and then go and request it. This, they've just started sending the money. So it's all good, but those were some of the differences since February. Expenditures. Back in early February, we committed to that Camp Panther program that started a week ago and is going just extremely well over in Ellendale. That had a price tag of about $45,000, if you guys remember. and we went ahead and said we're gonna do that. We didn't even know for sure what summer funding would look like, but since then, that's materialized, so that's nice. So we had left some dollars in that budget for that commitment. Examples of lower than expected expenditures include, we've experienced a very high number of unfilled sub positions since returning to school in January for numerous reasons. So that's not ideal, but one of the results of that is you save money, but we don't want that long term. Very little travel happened. You know, take a school board convention, for example. Reduced, or in some cases, no extracurricular activities. Some of the activities never happened. Sports were all reduced. No field trips happened, with the exception of a senior trip. The time we were in the distance, the lights were shut off, we used less water, we copied less paper, we drove fewer miles, and we experienced a mild winter, we moved less snow. You know, all those things were in our favor. Projects and equipment that were ordered or scheduled that haven't happened yet. And I say yet because there's still dollars for some of these things to happen. We've trimmed some of them. But for example, we ordered $30,000 worth of bathroom partitions for the Allendale building. And I don't know if those are gonna go in before June 30th. We've ordered $10,000 in gym mats. I'm wondering with that logo, not sure. For both ends of the high school gym. Just, you know how right now there's that little section under the baskets, and which is great if you hit right there, but if you hit, you know. So full length mats, and those were ordered months ago. I don't know if those are gonna come. Months ago, we ordered a $6,000 high jump pit. That never came. So we have intentionally said we don't want that now till March 1st. Months ago, we started looking at that new lobby entrance, $50,000 price tag. That is not going to happen. We hope that happens early fall. It'll happen during sports seasons, but we are going to work around that. We got used to using a different entrance, and so in that time frame, we're gonna do that. Bleachers were never gonna happen before July 1. They will not happen before school starts. So then the question will be, so I'm not sure about those, but those were never gonna happen on this year. So, you know, that was interesting when you asked about that sign, because we just have not had a lot of luck with ordering things and actually
The whole
getting
world's
as-
like that right now.
Exactly, but I'm guessing you'll want the sign whenever they will bring the sign, right? You know,
Correct.
so we'll make do.
Right, yeah,
Just wondering what the plan was.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That would
it'll
be
obviously
great.
be next year's business, so.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
they actually want a down payment, so, but.
And that's fine, we'll pay it now, but we'll have to move it.
Sure.
But we'll
Gotcha.
get a purchase order and whatever they need, just let me know. But, so I don't know if we're done, I mean, we'll see. Like I said, we'll come back in the fall and we'll tell you how things turned out. But those are some of the examples of dollars that didn't get spent.
This has been one of the more, challenging budgeting, this school year, and well, starting last spring, even, remember fourth quarter last year too, so just thank Carla for her work, and this is where we're at this time, and as Carla said, unaudited, we'll see August, September, sometime we'll see what it actually turns out to be, but I thank her for her work on this. So we are recommending that we revise this year's budget with the revenue of the $11,549,167 and expenditures of $11,265,629. Questions? Otherwise, looking for a motion for that.
I recommend, a motion to recommend the revised budget as presented.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Mr. Schoenrock to approve the budget revision for the 2021 years. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel?
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Moving into projecting next year. Carla?
Okay, yes, so we're gonna plan for a normal year. And the first slide is what we talked about back in April. And again, you guys suggested we get to work and try to narrow that a little bit. So since April, a few things. You approved a staffing plan in May, and those changes are in these numbers. What you approved tonight, they are not in those numbers yet. So you've approved a couple things tonight that's already starting to narrow things. Salary and benefit adjustments to date, we try to keep up with the people coming and going. You've seen a number of those. Obviously we have to guess on a few things such as health insurance, but we try to keep up a little bit. And then it includes $300,000 of ESSER $2, reserving the remaining until this fall. So $300,000 out of $396,000. I know, Lauren, you had asked this question. These dollars will cover the 2 new FTEs, the 2 interventionists at each or 1 at each building. We will code some of the current staff that Dale mentioned that were retained in order to maintain very favorable class sizes. It will pay for curriculum needed for the interventionists, particularly Ellendale. I think we're pretty good here. It'll allow for some professional development as we prepare and navigate the next school year. And then we've met a number of times with our next superintendent. We just talked about the need to try to reserve some remaining dollars until we see who shows up to go to school, where we're at on enrollment, and the state of the pandemic. So the ESSER $2 don't need to be spent next year. We're spending the bulk of them knowing about the ESSER 3 program, but yet we feel it's smart to withhold some until we see where we're at on enrollment, because if you want to flip to the next slide, we continue to kind of use what we've talked about in the past with that enrollment decline that we're expecting. So comparing the anticipated revenue with planned expenditures under the general fund, you can see that we continue to have a budget deficit. At this point, we're at around $190,000 overall planned deficit out between all the funds of about $164,000. So as we talked about back in April, we're still assuming a 1% formula increase, hoping you've all reached out to our legislators and asked for more. We're continuing to plan for a 7% enrollment decline. We've got 1% increases to unsettled contracts. We know that there is, it's important to not dip more than $200,000 into the general fund. Since April, we've got some things to talk about with technology, and that will be next, but we've got a $196,000 technology budget included in these numbers, which is much higher than normal, but it's including a $68,000 Chromebook purchase that we're going to talk about. I don't need to go into that too much, but we thought maybe this made a lot of sense at the time of having these ESSER dollars with technology, knowing they've got to lower that budget going forward if we buy this bulk payment right now, or spend this money now. This includes $56,000 worth of curriculum, and again, the use of $300,000 out of $396,000 in ESSER $2. So, questions on next year's budget? Again, I talked about does not have the very favorable work comp numbers in here, so we're going to narrow it a little bit that way. And then some of the staffing plan adjustments that were approved tonight are not in there yet. But for now, we're asking you to approve those numbers, and then we go to work, start changing them.
So Carla, just to clarify, the ESSER $3, which we're all have been aware of, is the largest pot of all of them. We haven't calculated that in this, but that might be a mechanism as Carla mentioned, or part of, that the board, as you continue moving forward, to fill gaps. Or, as Carla mentioned, as the board already said back in January, up to $200,000 from the fund balance. So those are optional solutions for you moving forward to address if that deficit continues as what we're projecting. But we didn't want to get ahead of ourselves or get ahead of you and just start putting solutions in of how to fill that projected deficit gap.
So that's ESSER
3.
Well, what are we using, this in here is 3 or 2?
2.
And of that, we had a short 400,000 and we're proposing to spend 300 of it?
Yep. Yes, that's,
But then those funds can be carried over.
yes, into the next year.
And
I appreciate this being drawn out this way because I think back to Lauren's comment here a little bit ago of we've got to be extremely careful that we don't solve our problems with ESSER 1, 2, or 3 monies because they are not long-term. I think there will be a tone throughout the district that, my gosh, look at all the money we have, but that time frame will go by so rapidly that the reality of it is we're working with a $190,000 shortfall for next year. Realistically, on money coming in, enrollment, the things that school districts have ran on for the last 50 years and will run on for the next 50, hopefully barring any pandemic. So this is a real number that we have to address, or future school boards will have to look at as to how do we stop that bleeding again. We gave the figure of nothing more than 200,000 of deficit spending. ESSER will fix it, but
Well,
we
aren't
have
the
to
ESSER monies really aimed at the learning deficits from COVID? So, I mean, they're not fixing our deficits. They are addressing the educational deficits that were incurred in the last year. They are not solving our deficit problems. They're not supposed to be solving our deficit problems. They are addressing a hopefully temporary need.
Right, let's hope it's temporary, yeah, right.
Providing relief to school districts, so the school districts don't have to necessarily make any real, as drastic budget decisions, reductions right now. It'll help perhaps just kind of, smooth those decisions a little bit and make them less significant at this time. And that's why Carla mentioned too, the ESSER 3 money, coming up with a plan, a 3-year plan. Not a 1-year plan and just spend it all. But be strategic in developing that 3-year plan.
Wasn't it also supposed to help though with the enrollment issues because of COVID?
Yeah,
A lot of the students have gone to online schools and they're not coming back.
Right.
To
That's the 100,000.
to the brick and mortar, so that
Right.
funding goes out the window.
But hopefully over time we can entice
them back.
them back.
But there isn't a guarantee to that either,
No.
and that's what's
Well,
dangerous
if you
about
keep
this
them
again.
online in your school district, if you have an online program at your school district, then you keep the
How's
dollars.
that speech go at graduation?
But again, it's still,
I would hope, yes.
this injection of money, it does give you, in some ways, some more time
Right.
Yes.
before having to make, if enrollment continues and online, and if that continues down the path, then you will have to make some additional decisions, funding decisions. But right now, this provides you a little bit of relief.
So is it my understanding that some of the ESSER 2 money has actually brought down, lowered our deficit?
Well, you made some decisions knowing you had that money to go out and look for interventionists and to maintain these low class sizes. And I don't know in a year from now how you'll feel about the extremely low class sizes. I think I'll have to see how things are going, but yeah, sure has helped. You know, we talk to other districts and try to get a sense of, and I think the majority will do a blend. You know, we talked to one district, they're just using it to fill a budget gap. They're not really doing anything different. That seems wrong.
Mhm. Well, it doesn't seem like you're serving your students well by
Right,
doing it
right,
that way.
Right.
I mean, you must have been in a pretty dire situation if that's all you can do with it.
Yeah, and you know, and some are, one, you know, we're not sure that once we get going and we see where we're at enrollment-wise, there aren't other things we should be doing, you know, whether it's mental health. But, you know, right now, if you look at openings for positions, there's a lot of unfilled positions out there, and we gotta try to figure out who we can attract and what fits best here, but.
I would think it'd be hard to find somebody to come in to help us with mental health issues.
Oh,
They're not, yes.
well, yes,
It's
that's
a-
the thing, yeah.
It's a very common additional positions right now that school districts are looking at in the area of counseling and mental health. So they're adding.
Yeah.
So now there's just a lot of positions out there that you're gonna compete for, very few. So,
Something that hasn't been there in the past is that position.
Or that many,
Right.
or, you know.
but you know, as Carla mentioned, we were very intentional and upfront with you and the public that the low class size, that's intentional, at least for next school year, so that we have time, our teachers, our families, our parents have time to get back in here for a full year, realizing the year that we just ended. So it's part of a transition. And because we're on the lower end of our class size policy, as we presented back in April to you. And in fact, we're dipping below in some grade levels.
That's good.
But
Right.
that was intentional.
Right, and you're also going above your fund balance policy, so, I mean, this is good, well, you know, there's,
All even so.
yeah.
To Terry's point, I think it kind of go, if we're gonna spend 75%, we definitely need to help the kids because they suffered some and come with some extra programs and stuff. But we also lost income or are losing income, so I think it'd be a little irresponsible to spend it all on stuff. I think that maybe now if we're sitting at, I don't care what the number is, but right now we're sitting about 25% of the left. I wouldn't feel guilty at all about trying to heal the budget a little bit
Right, sure.
from lost income.
You know, for example,
I just think it'd be irresponsible to go out and buy everybody new.
Oh,
Well, we've got to see how the year goes too.
well, in back to our enrollment issue and this online competition that we're actually facing because of the year, we have to prove to the general public that we are the place to educate their children and earn that respect back with them, that the best education their child can get is in the building at NRHEG, and we can do that by smaller class sizes and offering some things and get education quality back on track of where it belongs, which I think is the intent of this money somewhat.
But it's gonna take, I still think we need to look to the future. I think online learning is
Gonna
here
be
to
a piece
stay,
of
it's
it.
not gonna go away, and and I think to have something here at our school for the kids, because they can go to other schools, they already have programs. And so to find something that works here, that makes our school more attractive. It's, those are some of the things that we're gonna have to make sure that we do.
so a week ago, the numbers would be, we were gonna use 250 of ESSER money, or just short of that. But this Chromebook situation arose where we just think it makes a lot of sense to use the ESSER money to purchase them now. And then, again, Angie understands that going forward, what used to be a normal budget of about $125,000, she needs to spend $20,000 less than that, what would have been lease payments. We have the money now, it seems like a really good use of ESSER money, and it's a very favorable purchase to get them now, we gotta get them
So
ordered.
purchase them outright rather than.
Purchase
lease
them outright, with the understanding she's gotta spend 20,000 less instead of lease payments.
Oh,
So we have the cash, it's a
so it's
good
at net
use.
zero.
Yeah, so, and it's like a ton of maintenance supplies this year were coded to ESSER one, because that's what it was about. It was about sanitizing and cleaning and protecting, and so it's, again, it's not all just buying other stuff, so it is a good balance. And you should know, just because we have these different pots of money, we're still always trying to do things as efficiently as possible if it's not at the expense of their learning. For example, absorbing a bus route, which we're gonna do. So, things like
Carla, is there a requirement to spend the ESSER two money or appropriate the ESSER two before we can apply for ESSER three? Or is that not part of the ESSER two program, or ESSER three program?
Right, yeah, for some reason, it's not. You had to spend ESSER one before two, but you don't have to spend two before three. In order to get the three, we've started the process, but there's a little more to getting the three, which there should be for $800,000. And so that is gonna be happening over the course of the next few months, to apply for that. That's a little more involved. And yeah, I don't know why that is, Lauren.
Sounds like they just attach different strings on
Yes.
that one.
Yeah, we're just trying to keep it all straight. Some of the summer funding this year can also be used next summer, so anytime it's like that, we try to like, well, can we spend half this summer and half next summer? So, we're trying to keep it all straight.
Kind of sounds like the same process for businesses through the last year and stuff too.
Yes.
So as you perhaps still have some questions, the potential motion to adopt the 21-22 budget at this time with a projected revenue of $11,545,292 and expenditures of $11,709,649. So this would be adopting or approving a planned deficit budget at this time.
I will make a motion to approve the proposed 2021-2022 budget as presented.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Ms. Maloney, seconded by Mr. Mueller to approve the 2021-2022 proposed budget as presented. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shainrock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. Chromebook purchase. Ugh. Dr. Carlson, take over, please.
Well, you just heard, we referenced this, Carla referenced it a couple times in the proposed budget, and so here you are. And so we are recommending that we move forward with this purchase of 240 new Chromebooks and purchasing versus the leasing. And I think Carla did a nice job of alluding to that and providing the information. So I think, there is an additional fee for, as far as management license, that we don't have an option. And so the grand total does come to that $68,640. But happy to take questions that you might have. Oh, by the way, our current Chromebooks are shipped back. Otherwise, I think, is it $100? I think something like that. So part of the lease agreement is they go back. And
So that lease was up.
so, yep.
How many years did that lease run? Is that our initial lease?
No.
No. That would have been,
And we've kind of pieced them together, we
I
started,
just don't remember.
yeah.
yeah.
She,
I think was it the 14-15 school year, the first?
yeah, I
You have
can't
the
say. I
implementation.
would have said 4 years, but,
At least the higher grade levels, I think. Anyway,
this is only 240 out of so many, so we're probably, I'm sorry that we can't answer all these things, but she looked into purchasing these and trying to use one more year, and it was, we felt didn't make sense, because she needed some new batteries. She looked into lease options, she looked into a number of different scenarios. And, you know, my biggest fear, and I don't know, do you know they've been shipped back? I was kind of hoping we didn't have to ship until we got them, because, you know, again, we have to have these. Everybody's so accustomed to it now, can you imagine?
Yeah.
What about ours? The board members?
Oh, I hope you don't lose those. She's getting Dell Chromebooks, they're the Acers, I think yours are, where aren't they?
These are old.
Are they old? Okay.
My battery's dead.
Okay, I should just start. I'm
And
not
you
sure if
charge
this
it.
is bad going back.
We don't wear ours out, we take
No,
care of
no,
ours.
these are the
that way,
last
guys.
ones that need replacing, but sarcastically.
Good,
told the
good,
kids we're
good
getting new ones.
questions, and we didn't come prepared with some of these answers, so.
No, but that's
No,
what
I'm-
we have a technology department
Yeah.
for. We want that
I was just trying to remember when they came
I
in,
can't either.
and
So are we saving money by buying them against leasing? I would assume.
I would
Yes,
assume so,
Yes,
yeah.
we got the cash, we think it makes sense, and then,
And do we,
said the trick is to keep reminding her, she's gotta keep her budget down.
Yeah.
and we run these down to a net zero then, the ones we buy?
Okay, yeah, guys, I'm actually looking at the June agenda letter. It says our current 4-year lease
Okay.
on our Dell Chromebooks is up, and you guys have Acers, not Dells.
Ah,
We're gonna get this figured out. She's got the purchase price in there of $23,000 to purchase these old junkers. We were hoping if it was a fraction of that, maybe that would make sense for a year. Extend the lease 1 year is $20,000, or send these back and then lease or purchase now.
Yeah, we knew the 4-year lease was up, but what I don't have is the number of additional lease or additional Chromebooks that we have in
Right.
addition to this, and what the lease or the agreement on that is. That I don't have.
Well, and she said too, in one more year, the ones she had now will be at their end of life, so it didn't make sense to put money
Right.
into them for one more
I agree
year.
with that.
yeah, I can't imagine
Buying.
these little Chromebooks lasting more than 4 years.
No,
That
And
kids
they
didn't
have
use?
teenagers carrying them back and
$255
forth.
to
and-
start with?
Well-
Oh, and then she's not buying cases anymore.
No?
Apparently, the cases, they take them off, and they've been doing so much damage to the actual Chromebooks, she's finding that a lot of places don't even spend the money for cases, for them to wreck. So, seems,
The cases damage the Chromebook.
yeah,
Huh.
them peeling them on and off,
Oh, I see.
and a lot of them take them off.
So these 240 Chromebooks, will they replace the senior high, or is this for junior high, or what is what placement are these Chromebooks going into?
Yeah, that goes to the question of how our others that we have and how old they are, and I don't have that cycle.
Maybe we could send that out to them.
Yeah,
afterwards.
we will follow up. I thought that these were more focused on the 912, but we'll have to follow up, Mr. Shanghar.
Okay, thank you.
So one other stupid question, I don't know if you can answer this one. So,
I'm kind of over.
No,
Maybe if we
Should we
lower
call
our
Angie?
question quality.
so if we were just to lease these, then we would have to pay that extra $7,400, correct?
The license, no, we still have to. That's just like a management license that goes on them.
Okay.
So it would still be this, and then they just send it to a leasing company and charge us 2-3% a year, and we do it that way. And that's what we usually do, just to keep a
But we
steady,
have some
even cash flow.
Right. No,
So,
and
yeah.
that's I
That's a
think,
good question.
But Angie's pretty good at having this all on a rotating basis. I mean,
right.
Yes.
That's
she's got
where,
it all planned out to
Exactly.
where,
Right, she had kind of hoped for one more year, and then she was, so I know we have some coming due next year. She was hoping to bundle more and be on a little bit of the same.
but I think there, as much as there isn't a stupid question, I think we put some faith in the technology department and administration here of it being a relatively good plan of what they're doing there. I wouldn't challenge them on any of their decision making on that until we see a reason to, but.
Mr. Chairman, I move we go ahead with the purchase of the Chromebook.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Shanerock, seconded by Mr. Routh to move forward with the purchase of the Chromebooks as presented. Any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. We're still not done with the term COVID, so we're going to talk about a COVID-19 safe return to in-person learning plan. Dr. Carlson, please.
Well, as we were just talking about ESSER 3 funding, one of the requirements to be eligible to apply and receive is that, and again, this comes more from a federal mandate requirement, that all public schools, all schools need to develop a safe return to in-person learning plan. And so this has been a conversation now for the last several weeks, and really what does this mean, especially for schools in Minnesota, because we've been back to in-person in many ways for a period of time. And so it's to think that now we need to go back and develop a safe return to in-person learning plan when we had developed school learning plans at the start of this past school year for not just in-person, but for hybrid and for distance learning. And so as the conversation has continued throughout the last several weeks with the Minnesota Department of Education, there's been allowances to go back and use our existing school learning plans, which we developed at about a year ago or last fall. And knowing that we're going to have to make some adjustments. We've gone ahead though, in addition to that those are already on our website, we've gone ahead and developed, in addition, what we believe right now, based on what we know, a safe return to in-person learning plan that is technically separate from our school learning plans that are on our website. And it's kind of provides a brief outline of those mitigation strategies, those protocols that are in place at this time. Also acknowledging that as the summer goes and we get ready for fall, this is very possibly will look different. One of the main things that the federal government is requiring is public engagement into the development of this plan. And one of the main ways to do that is through public comment. And so you'll notice that at the end of this plan, we've provided, so we will have this on the website. In fact, we've already placed it there, contingent upon approval tonight by the board. And by the way, we feel that right now, because of the time-sensitive nature of this, in fact, we have to have this posted by June 21, which is today. And we've been working on this, and we weren't given that much notice.
No.
So what you can easily see is if you go to public comments, this will take you right to a Google form, which then we will maintain and so on. So, and then this will have to be reviewed every so often. So, as you can scroll down, a number of these things look, at least the topics look very familiar to you as far as masking, our screening process, isolation, and with that as far as quarantines, and so on. A similar document, by the way, to this, it was maybe a little less detailed. We did send it out for our summer school parents a couple weeks ago. We needed to get some kind of guidance out there anyway. And so we took this document that we had already started working on, took pieces of this and pushed it out to our summer school parents. So I I think that it's a work in progress, but for right now, we feel very comfortable to putting this on our website, as well as those other school learning plans haven't gone away, that they're sitting there too, but those were more designed for the school year that we just ended, for the 2021 school year. And so this is really more applicable now, moving forward throughout the summer, and will be a document that will be worked on probably as you get closer to the fall, start making some revisions and adjustments. So we feel bringing it to the board right now also, as you represent our community, is another way of having that engagement or that invitation for feedback and as well. Questions?
Is the difference in the quarantine time between exposures, is that a CDC thing or a district thing?
We are pretty much following the CDC on this, as well as Department of Health.
Okay.
Yep. So some things have changed, adjusted, and yeah. Those who, I want to thank, like Carrie Petziger, who stepped right in, and several of us have been working on this over the last couple of weeks, and so following, Mr. Myhock has been involved with this development as well, and so we feel we decided early on, though, we're going to go pretty much right along with what MDH and CDC, which isn't that different than what we've been doing.
I'll make a motion to approve the COVID-19 safe return to in-person learning plan.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Mueller, seconded by Ms. Maloney to approve the COVID-19 safe return to in-person learning plan as presented. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Engel, please.
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries. At this time, we will move into closed session for the purpose of discussing the purchase of property located at 615 North Broadway in Richland, Minnesota by the school district pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05 Subdivision 3C. We will now be in closed session. Appreciate people joining us this evening. Welcome to stay to see if there's any action after the closed session, but at this time we will go into closed session.
So I'm going to end the live stream.
We need a motion for
Yeah,
that.
don't we need a motion to go in
For closed session,
It says here.
is there a motion for it?
Yeah.
Terry, can you?
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Engel, seconded by Mr. Ralph to go into closed session. Ms. Engel?
Terry Engel, aye. Joanne Maloney,
Aye.
Rich Mueller,
Aye.
Travis Ralph,
Aye.
Dan Schmidt,
Aye.
Lauren Shanerock,
Aye.
Rick Schultz.
Aye. Motion carries.